I don't really know what to say.
So, yeah, thank you for all joining it. And what we did the first time round is we just did introductions as we go round. That would be really helpful for me, and you guys probably know each other even better. But Dianne, do you want to kick things off and introduce yourself? We'll go around the virtual room and then get into it.
Okay, thanks very much. Well, it's lovely to see everybody. I think that everybody knows me. There's one of me in every county. I'm the county secretary or principal officer of the Shropshire Association of Local Councils. We look after the councils in the county of Shropshire, so that is Shropshire Council, Shropshire Unitary, and also Telford and Wrekin Unitary Council. We're very fortunate in that we have a 97% membership, so there are only a handful of small parish councils not in membership, 5 or 6, I think. Yes, so you know, that keeps us busy. We're very proud of our councils, actually, large and small. We have Shrewsbury Town Council, which I think is the second largest in England, only topped by Weston-super-Mare. And we have Badger, which I think there's about 104 in Badger Parish Council over in the Bridgnorth area. Yeah, we're very proud of them, as particularly how they've risen to the challenge and how very quickly they have done that as well. It grieves me sometimes to hear them describe themselves as volunteers when actually, you know, they are the first tier of government. They are appointed under local government legislation, and the decisions that they carry out, they comply with local government law. So, you know, I'm very proud of them, as I've said. They are the people closest to the ground. They make a difference locally, and also they're accountable locally. Yeah, so very proud of them.
Thanks, Dianne. Eric, you're top left in my screen. Shall we, do you want to go next?
Yeah, well, I'm clerk to Craven Town Council. I've been a clerk now for 43 years. Started as a clerk in 1975. I currently look after another, as well as Craven Town Council, I look after 3 parish councils, smallish parish councils. I also look after 3 trusts, and I'm chair of governors of Westfield Special School in Leominster. Had a long local government career. I started my local government career actually in 1968 in a small authority called North Shropshire District Council, before I moved on to Cardiff and went to Llantrisant and Llantwit Vardra Rural District Council. Then I moved to Taffili Borough Council, and then ended back up in Shropshire at South Shropshire District Council, where I finished as head of IT. But my time has always been working with the local community, and I must admit, thoroughly enjoy working as a parish clerk. It can be tiresome sometimes, and the phone can be non-stop sometimes. But I think, in fairness to Dianne and Salk, they are a valuable organisation, which has helped us move along, certainly over the last 10, 15 years.
Wow, that sounds like a great journey and a great career. And you're just getting started, right?
Yeah.
Great, thank you for that, Eric. Katrina, you're top right on my screen.
Oh, right. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Katrina Baker. Similar to Eric, I'm clerk of a number of councils. My main employment is Hollinswood and Randley Parish, which is a large urban council right next door to Telford Town Centre. So the needs in Hollinswood and Randley are very, very different to those in the rural areas. I live in Waters Upton and have been clerk there for 31 years now. Gosh, time flies. And also picked up a couple of other small parish councils, really just to help and support them when they hadn't got clerks and have never managed to leave them. So once you get these jobs, sometimes you can't get rid of them. But like I said, the differing needs between the urban area and the rural areas have made life interesting in the last few weeks, because it's been very important to recognise the needs of your communities and how best to support them depending on those needs. I'm also, similar to Eric again, involved in village hall management committees, various other organisations. I love working with people. I'm a people person, and if I can help in any way, and it tends to be in a secretarial or a treasurer role or something like that, is the best way of helping them and supporting them. And I'm very, very proud to be president of the Shropshire Association at the moment as well.
Lovely. Again, yeah, lots of things going on there.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Keeps me out of trouble.
Keeps you out of trouble. I'm going to say next is Dan, and then you two can fight it out.
Dan, you go first.
Okay, I'm Dan Thomas. I'm chair of Much One Town Council, kind of mayor of Much One. I joined Much One Town Council in 2018. We had a contested by-election with a really high turnover of about a third, which was quite good for Much One, and certainly local elections. My day job is working in the Human Resources Department at the office supplies company Lyrico. Yeah, I've been involved in Much One for 2 years now, and was recently made mayor of the town a week ago. So it's very much at the start of my time in politics.
Fantastic. That's great. And I'd have to say a very clean background, a very clean room you've got there. Yeah. Must have taken you stock photos. It must have taken you ages to build that. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Let's go for the other Dan.
Other Dan, I'm Other Dan from now on.
Sorry, that's downplaying you.
No, that's fine. I'd rather be that. That's fine. I'm the chair of Beaumont Heath Parish Council. I've been on the parish council for about 6 years, I think. I've been chair for the last 2. I was vice chair for the 2 before that. We've done our best to sort of rise to the challenges locally. We've got a really, really good parish council. They're very proactive, which is something that I can't thank them enough for. We've managed to sort of grapple and grip with technology, and we've had a finance committee meeting, which was done in April, and we did our first proper parish council video call meeting with, I think we had about 60% attendance, which was done day before yesterday.
Great.
So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Bob, you're muted at the moment, but if you can hear us and unmute yourself, then we'd love to hear from you. And this is the bit that we'll cut out of the video where we wait. Well, actually, while Bob's unmuting himself, I'll just introduce myself. So I'm Chris Muse, and I work for Parish Online, which is a digital mapping software company. It's actually part of a bigger company. And what we do is we supply mapping software through a web interface for town and parish councils and community councils all around the country, with the idea that they can then use that as a self-service tool to do neighbourhood planning, look at planning applications, surface water flooding, environmental issues, tourism, whatever you do as part of your role. We think that as map geeks, there's a role for mapping to be involved in it. So that's what we do, and we keep that up and running and basically serve you guys. And yes, we have just over 1,200 parish councils using our service. We're very proud of it, and I'm sure I'm going to throw a few shameless plugs into this along the way. But
and why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, great. Thank you very much. And Bob, You did unmute for a second. I saw that, but you're muted again. Go on.
Well,
There we go.
okay.
Yes.
Oh, hello, Bob.
Hi. It is my turn. Bob Welsh. I'm a retired social care consultant. I've been on Church Stretton Town Council for 13 years. This is my second stint as mayor. Church Stretton is a beautiful town in the heart of the Shropshire Hills area of outstanding natural beauty. We have a high elderly population and a high number of single person households, many of whom are not digital savvy. So we have a particular challenge to reach out to them in these current circumstances. But we're fortunate to have a renowned community centre with over 300 elderly volunteers. But for this emergency, we've recruited 100 volunteers under 60 so that they are not in the at-risk category. And so between us, we are able to support about 300 households around the town. So the town has really come together very well.
Wow, brilliant.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much. Welcome to the call. And I've noticed that Ray's just appeared as well. So Ray, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can see you as well when I play around with the screen a little bit.
Fantastic. Hi, there you are.
Let's have a look. I can see all the initials underneath, so I know Bob's here and Katrina and Dianne.
Yes.
You know, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I'm late. I was delivering papers and milk to residents in the village.
Very, very selfish of you. How dare you?
Yes, I know.
Would you like to give us all a quick introduction?
Okay. Oh, so you want me to do an
Yes,
introduction?
if you wouldn't mind. Yeah.
Okay, most of, I'm assuming everybody knows me. Yeah, I'm the Parish Council Chairman for Urkel Magna, which is part of Katrina's patch, really. We share duties, as it were. And of course, I'm also chairman myself for my sins, my first year. And nothing like gently being eased in, is there? Flooding and coronavirus, but never mind.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about podcasts. Okay. Anyway, I thought I'd come and have a go because I feel that certainly SALC as an organisation needs to a little bit and move into the 21st century. If this is one way we can do it, I think it's probably very useful. But certainly when you were talking some of the issues about mapping and neighbourhood plans, etc., and yes, it could very well be a useful tool. Is it me or is it just my computer? Sorry, is it just my computer? Is it you guys? But you freeze again.
I'm afraid to say it might be you who's doing the freezing, but well, that's part of the magic of video calls. Is we'll go through it as best we can, and we'll try with all the different hardware and internet connections we've got. We'll struggle through it. So yeah, don't worry about it. But yeah, thanks for joining us. And that's all our introductions. That's great. Unless I've missed anyone. No, I haven't. That's good. The thing that I sort of took away from those introductions is I asked you to introduce yourself and you all went straight into talking about the things that your community are doing and the things that other people are doing and how proud you are of other people. And that really, as a professional organisation, professional group, is your main response, is you are looking after the community, you're looking after the public, and you're being socially responsible and bringing new things into. And before the call, we're just having a quick chat on tennis courts. Dan, can you just give us a little insight into that? Because this is at the heart of what you do, isn't it? It's looking after other people.
Yeah. So one of the things that we were talking about before is it's sort of coming out of this the other end. And we've got a tennis club. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a dwindling club at the moment. They've done their best to try and revamp it, and it's possible that at the other end of this, that some of our sort of activities that are within the parishes might start to flourish. Especially, I think, sort of 2020, 2021 will be the year of the staycation. No one's going to want to go away for a 2-week holiday and spend 4 weeks either side in quarantine. And it might be that people will find a bit more time to do things at home and in their own patch. So we've got in Bomere Heath, the tennis club, the cricket club. There was talk of maybe a bowling green or some sort of committee doing a bowling green within the area. And there are lots of other flourishing activities, sporting activities and recreation activities around and about in some of our neighbouring parishes.
That's great to hear. Yeah, you do get the sense that people are looking more local now, aren't they? And so instead of thinking of the places where they're going to go far off into different parts of the world, they're actually looking, what can I, when this is over, what can I do here? You know, I know my community a lot more now, and what services are around in my area.
Well, one of the things that we've just started to do, and this is where you can probably do a shameless plug, we've started to look at the footpaths. We were talking with Leslie Picton, who's our Shropshire County Council lead for our particular patch, but she also looks after leisure, as well as a couple of other things in her portfolio. But I've been going back through some historic minutes, and about every 5 years or so, there used to be people used to feed into how the footpaths were doing. And with all of the socially distant walking and local exercise that's happening, a lot of our footpaths are being sort of rediscovered, for want of a better word. And we as a parish council, whilst I've been on there, haven't really discussed footpaths in any length. So I've touched base with the outdoor community of Shropshire County Council. I've got the digital interactive map, which they have on their platform. I've got the zoomed in version for Bomere Heath, and we're producing that as a download. And I tried it myself. We did a 6.5 mile walk with my wife and the kids last weekend. And you can follow all of the footpaths brilliantly just from this download on my phone. And I imagine, certainly with your sort of software, and something that we just agreed at our last meeting, is that I've got 2 parish councillors and a third that's going to support, that are going to become responsible for footpaths. And that's not to make them responsible for being wardens. That's just making sure that we as a parish council have a good feed and a good hold on what our footpaths look like, the state of them. Is there anything we need to be aware of? And hopefully map them, for want of a better word, by taking photographs. So we've got some sort of record, which, looking back at historic minutes, I think the last one was done in 1991 for our parish. So there's just a 30-year gap we've got to plug. But I think the 3 of the volunteers that have stepped up have said that they'd love to do that. And I think that will add real value and real benefit to our community. And as we start to become more digital, I genuinely think that our parishioners and anybody that wants to see it, that could help. But I was certainly listening to what you were saying, and I thought if there was a way to sort of incorporate what Shropshire Council have got, and then we could sort of tag photographs, because I'm in construction and we do that quite a lot. So if we've got drawings or plans or anything out there, we sort of tag photographs into different sections so we can see how a building has progressed, or if there's a defect or a fault, we can map it. Similar sort of thing. If we could sort of interact this thing and have it as a live document, and it's got some sort of current updated photographs, that would be even better.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that's what a lot of our subscribers use it for, is among other things, they take it as an opportunity to go, right, now we've got some maps, let's start to plot them. And a lot of the time when we're supporting them and talking to them, we're like, oh right, so you don't actually know. It's they are starting from scratch, like you say, with maybe a 30-year deficit. And so a lot of parishes are doing that as an exercise, where they can start off and plot some of the routes and go, okay, that's good. I can put that there and come back to it when I need to, and start to use it as a general build-up of that information, rather than going, right, we've got a 3-year project here, guys. We've got to go and plot all of our footpaths, and then we'll do it in another 10 years. Instead, they can plot them into Parish Online and then gradually iterate it. They can go, oh, actually, there's a correction here, or there's a little bit that needs to be changed. And because it's a live document, that's really easy to do. It's literally dragging lines into place on top of a map or on top of aerial photography. And that has been really valuable for parishes and a massive time saver, because instead of having to do that every few years, they can just every 6 months, say, during the summer, go and check it out. Is it still valid? Are these styles still in good order? And plotting on the map where those styles are and where those access points are, taking a picture of them, uploading it to that point, so that when you click on that point, it comes up with all the information you've written about it, and also some photos from the last few years. So yeah, that's definitely the way to do it. And that's what we've been promoting with the software, is that it's a digital management software system, but it's mostly just a repository. You can start off with it by just going, right, here are footpaths. That's great, I've done that. Phase 1. I can pick that up again when I need to, instead of having to redraw a paper map that's been lost or ripped up or given to someone. It's there that can be shared by your colleagues, but then also published to the public so they can see it and they can understand what the situation is. But yeah, definitely, that's a big theme at the moment, is certainly from the councils we're talking to, is when people are allowed to go out and do things more regularly, how can we support them, and how is our infrastructure set up for it?
Chris, just I can perhaps back you up on that, and again, perhaps plug in your software a little bit.
No, we've done that enough already.
I had an exercise to do with street lighting because we had to change the contract from one supplier to another, which meant me having to supply mapping information effectively with all the GIS references of all the street lights in Craven Arms.
Yeah.
So I physically went round, photographed every street light, although I haven't put the photographs on yet, but then I actually went round and plotted on your map facilities each street light, and can then provide each councillor now with a copy of the map with the street lights marked, so as they can visually see where they are. So it is a useful piece of software. I've also used it on Footpaths, fortunately in our area, and it was interesting to hear about Footpaths. The parishes that I deal with, we've had footpath officers in place for probably the last 20 years. They regularly walk the footpaths, and we have had a couple of issues lately where, again, the mapping facility has enabled me as clerk, with not living in the area, to clearly identify where the problems are and then pick up the correspondence thereafter. So it is a useful tool, so I will give you that.
That's great. Yeah, I'll pay you later. Yeah, that's really good to hear, and that's exactly what it's there for. And
Yes.
yeah, go on, Ray.
Sorry, is your digital mapping based on the National Survey maps? Or you just created the maps and we just simply add to? The reason I'm asking the question is that we have access, I think, Katrina will probably tell me not, we haven't, but then we got access to digital mapping now from the council, which is something new. It's taken a long time to get it digital. And we also have footpaths officers that check out the rights of way, and it's more, I think, when it comes to footpaths in our area, is that it's in case developers decide they want to build a whacking great fat one, that we can actually try and save that that right of way. So the simple question is, what's your mapping system based on originally?
Yeah, so in the background there's ordnance survey mapping, and yeah, so we take 6 weekly updates from ordnance survey. So we do the whole country, and so that's all updated in the software. So whenever you log into it, you're going to be seeing the most up-to-date version. But then we take in data from other sources as well. So in some areas, we can bring in the public rights of way data from the principal authority and share it out to all of the parishes in that area. So when you log into it, you don't have to start from a starting point of nothing. You can go, great, the local authorities supplied the public rights of way, so I'm going to switch that on, and then I can reference it, amend it, or just look at it and go, okay, that's a good starting point. So yeah, it's not a start from zero point of view. You can build it up based on the other information in there.
Okay, so I mean, we add things like TPOs, and so I live in a rural area, so mine tends to be trees, hedges, and country lanes as to buildings.
Yeah. Again, TPOs can be supplied from the principal authority, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and so you can take that information and see it in your Parish Online account. And normally, if we don't have that data in the area, it's just a process of me and my team going to that local authority and saying, can you supply this data? And then we put it into our kind of management side of it, and then that shares it out to all the Parish Online accounts. So yeah, we're all about the kind of sharing of data between organisations, both across different parishes, but also across different tiers of government, because that's the only way we're going to stop replication and duplication of data, is bringing it all together.
I'm very conscious that we have a lot of walk leaflets that have been developed over the generations. I suspect we need to talk to you about making them more accessible digitally, because clearly that's what walkers are now using much more. So that's a challenge for us. For the first time last year, we developed a geotourist app that enables people to tune in and be taken on a tour of the town, looking at the historic buildings. The only problem is that in the hills, the reception is not always reliable. But we're looking to Shropshire Council to help us on that front.
I can imagine, yeah. I suggest put a massive, great mobile phone signal mast up there. Everyone will love that. Yeah.
Could I just ask?
Yes.
Could I just ask? If you're subscribing to Parish Online as a individual parish, the plans and everything that you can provide, is that just for within your parish boundary? Because in rural areas, there are lots of advantages of linking the parishes up, especially when you talk of rights of way. So it would be really important to be able to go cross-boundary.
Yeah, that's something we're working on. There's a few levels to it. So the data that you get supplied from us through Ordnance Survey and Environment Agency and Natural England, all those kind of organisations, that's national level. So you can roam anywhere around the map to see that, not just in your area. Then you've got the information that you can draw into it, and that can be just private to you. But we are getting more bold where we can look at more collaborative drawing of information. So yes, we could start a public rights of way project or a walking routes project where you can draw the information in your area, but you can also see what your neighbouring parishes have drawn as well. Because you're right, linking that up would be great. So we're always looking at initiatives around that, and usually the way they start well is when they're regional. So a group of people in a regional area wanting to do something, and it naturally spreads out to other parishes. But yeah, that'd be a great idea, great project.
One project that I'm just thinking now that you've mentioned how it works, and I have to hold my hands up in not investigating this previously, so my apologies for that, is that as we look to supporting people when the block eases a little more, one of the things that we've already done, which is map out where our vulnerable people are for the support that they're needing at the moment. But we're going to continue to need to support them, because I think having been locked away for 8-10 weeks, I think that's going to be really important in lots of cases. And I can see this being really important to be able to identify where people live and what services we can get to them easiest. And with the lack of rural transport, hopefully bringing in volunteers and car usage and that sort of thing to actually help them to, even if it's only visit the next village or visit a friend, because a lot of them have not seen anyone for quite some time now.
That's a really good point, and we've seen a lot of parishes do that, where they're plotting out areas. In fact, in the last session, last call we did, there was Jill there who was plotting out her volunteer support areas. And okay, that's perfect for now when it's needed in the time of emergency. But and this is open for everyone, including you, Katrina, is can we continue that? You know, we've learned to be better as a community, dealing with working with local people and engaging with local people. How do we keep that up when everyone goes back to their normal life?
Well, Shropshire has started to look at how it can use its data and cross-reference it with fire and police information to identify vulnerable households. This emergency has demonstrated to us where they are. After it's gone, I think we're going to have to look to digital means to make sure that we keep updating our understanding of where the vulnerable people are.
Yeah, that's right. You sense that there's been an investment in time in doing it now. So just like the public footpaths, if you stop doing that, if you stop just maintaining it as you go, then it's going to become a big task again and something that gets forgotten. But whether it could be something that can be continued further on, definitely.
I think it has the potential to have a few difficulties, though. Sort of devil's advocate here. You've got the GDPR aspect of it, so that would obviously have to be considered. And vulnerable people, as time goes on, they're transient. So people who weren't vulnerable then are, and people who are vulnerable, you know, may pass on or move out of the area, or their circumstances might change. And I think that'd be a very difficult one, certainly for us at a parish council level to sort of keep a handle on. We'd be very lucky because of so many people being at home and therefore making the house calls and sort of plotting it. But I'm not quite sure how at this level we could keep that up to date without it being a door knocking exercise. And then once we move out of this situation, people might feel a little bit ostracized by being classified as vulnerable. That has the potential to go the wrong way. At the moment, everything is for the greater good, and I think everything is working as it should do and as we would like it to. But equally, it could go the other way.
Very good point.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob, you've done your is it the Mayfair community centre that you're involved in?
Well, yes, I'm linked to it, but I'm not a trustee. But it was set up over 20 years ago. I was involved in raising community funds for developing a health and well-being centre some 3 years ago, which we planned to be a base to allow for many more outpatient clinics to be run in the town to prevent our elderly residents having to go considerable distances to hospitals. Unfortunately, in the last 3 years, the NHS has been very slow in this area to take on the advantages of digital communications, Skype consultations, Zoom consultation. And I'm hoping that as a result of this crisis and a much greater use of digital communication by GPs and clinicians, that they will invest in our local centre and develop those outpatient clinics. The facility is there, but it's underused at the moment. I'm hoping that clinicians will overcome what I think is their traditional resistance, wanting to be dealing directly in person with people. In our elderly community, we really need to take maximum advantage of digital communication.
So your point there on using technology for it, taking that back to Dan's point, could you almost, if you can make that offer of support easy to access by anyone, whether it's through a web page or through an app or by knocking on the parish council door, whether that could be a method to avoid the decay of the information on who's vulnerable, is having that kind of opt-in. Again, I'm thinking out loud, I don't know, but that using the experience of that. And does the Mayfair suffer with those problems of knowing who's on the radar and who's not?
Well, at the moment, it's very much dependent on community knowledge, but great efforts are made to try and inform particularly elderly people moving into the town about the range of services available, and we have developed a community messaging system that goes out 2 or 3 times a week. So by and large, people are well connected, and increasingly social media is being used. We have a Facebook community page that is now very much the jungle telegraph, if you like, of the community. So, but I think we are still going to have to rethink how we reach vulnerable people. I'm conscious that recently Shropshire Council introduced at 2 weeks' notice the requirement that people could only renew their blue badges for disabled drivers online, and that caused particular difficulties for particularly elderly people who were kind of thrown by that sudden shift to digital-only communication. So although I accept we're moving into more digital communication, we mustn't leave those vulnerable people behind who are not on that same trajectory.
And Dan, oh, sorry, go on, Katrina.
No, fine, it's Dianne.
Oh, sorry, Dianne.
Diane's muted.
Okay.
Sorry, I muted myself. I'm back, sorry. Yeah, I think the point that Dan made about GDPR, we're conscious at the moment that the Information Commissioner has somewhat relaxed some of the rules to, maintain the support for vulnerable people. And the other point that Dan mentioned was a champion for footpaths in the council, and maybe we could perhaps start to think about a champion for those that are known at the moment to be vulnerable. I mean, we work very closely with Shropshire Council and the voluntary sector in Shropshire. We did so at the start of the epidemic, and much of that was about identifying vulnerable people, children and the like. And I think it's up to us as representatives of our local councils to keep that, that momentum going now, to see how we can, give our support and make sure that those links are maintained. That's really important. And, we've got a good working group set up, and I think that should be definitely on our agenda, for the next meeting. But life after lockdown. Most definitely.
Can I just say, I think what has amazed me though during this epidemic is the work in the villages and how village halls and community centres have become very much a focus. And I think all these people that have come out of the woodwork and have joined together, and certainly I think the parishes that I'm aware of, and my role has really only been trying to point people who have rung me as who can they get hold of for food parcels, etc., or help. But I think the network down at certainly parish level and the smaller town level has been absolutely incredible. And the knowledge that they've gone round and they've ensured that vulnerable people have been dealt with. And I think you're right. That's something that's got to be built on in the future and mustn't be lost. It mustn't just be seen as one exercise. I'm just amazed how people have actually got together and put the total network in place.
Yeah, it's been amazing to see. Yeah. And Dianne, sorry.
So the GDPR issue, that's the way I would look at getting around that would be if somebody's willing to say, yes, you can put my house or address on the map, that's the permission granted. So therefore, you get round.
Yeah, you're right. It's a kind of that would be an opt-in, wouldn't it?
There are ways around some of the issues.
Yeah, and that would mean that information is still secure.
Yes.
And isn't made public, but is there for you to use as an organisation. Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dianne, you must have seen a big range of well, in your conversations with all the different parishes around the Shropshire ALC area, what's your sense of how they've coped with it? Do you think it's been a rallying, yeah, let's get on with it, or do you think it's a bit of being scared, or what do you think it's been like in your area?
Yeah, well, I think it's been an opportunity for the voluntary sector to come together with the parish councils. I mean, quite quickly they were bombarded, really, probably from us as well, with so much information to get their heads round, and they've just unpicked it. We've helped them to unpick the legislation. I mean, we've just finished a series of taster sessions for parish councils to continue to meet online, which is the legislation that we're working with at the moment. And they've just got on with it, really. And when our national association started to ask for feedback for their publication of everything that's going on that's good out there, I was surprised, really, when I actually looked at it and noticed how many Shropshire councils had fed into that publication. It was brilliant. Can I just say as well, looking at the new, what I would call the new norm, part of me says, I hope we don't go back to the norm, and let's focus on the new norm. I mean, we were going to have as our themes for this year, as Ray will confirm, loneliness was going to be one of them, and we've more or less cracked that instantly. So we definitely need to keep going on it. And another thing is going to be around, funnily enough, it's a bit weird, but it was about emergency planning. And I can see a big use of Parish Online for emergency planning. Absolutely. So as I said before, very proud of them. How they've reacted so quickly has been absolutely amazing, and they've just got on with it. How things can change very quickly,
isn't it? Yeah,
things can be built quickly, and it just thinks like struggling before with these things that were regional issues and whatever. Yeah.
I'm hoping very much that out of this, that town and parish councils will be very much more involved in coordinating with their local voluntary community groups, because a lot of voluntary organisations tend to have vertical communication up to county or national level. I think this emergency has demonstrated the need for lateral communication at that local community level, because as Dianne says, it's going to have a long-term impact on the community morale, and therefore all of the agencies that are involved in trying to assist need to come together so they don't duplicate, so that they make sure that there's this maximum coverage for all those that need that support.
No, absolutely. Do you think there's been an increase in public awareness of the role of a parish council?
Yes.
Open question. Whoever wants to take that one.
I'll take that. I think it has. Local authorities, our unitary authorities, especially top, realised, actually, these people do a lot of work. Secondly, we got the letter to the MPs, and also the our associated counties lobbying for extra funding. We've been on the radio either. Last week I was on giving an interview. We've had national law, and we've also had several other Ulster Street and Shrewsbury town councils on, all dealing with parish council issues over the last 2-3 weeks. So the coverage on the media in the local area has been strong. I think people are starting to realise, these councillors don't sit once a month and have a cup of tea and a sandwich. They actually do things. And so, yes, I think that the awareness has become heightened.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I think quite a nice role that I've found, Chris and friends, is that members of families have contacted me as parish clerk to find out if mum or dad or whatever are okay. because they haven't always been sure that there actually are. They've been ringing them each day or each week and saying, is everything all right? And they're saying, yes, they're okay. But they just want somebody on the outside that actually says, are they really okay? Is there anything that we can do? And we've had a number of people who have actually sent money to the parish council and asking them to do some shopping for them as a surprise, just to make sure that they have got all of the essentials. And a couple of people have actually sent some money and asked me to get a bunch of flowers and take them round, just to say we're still there, we're still thinking of, we still miss you, even though they can't visit, which has been really nice.
Yeah, that's lovely. Really good. And Dan T, you are the fresh face of councillors in the UK. If you've got that dubious position as, go on, you can say it.
I won the now Young Councillor of the Year award last year, which was fantastic. With Wenlock, because when they announced that people over 70 should self-isolate for 12 weeks on a council of 11 members, there were about 4 of us left. So literally, they were like, "Oh, okay," and so they were all very active over email and things. But we were quite conscious of the fact that it was just a few of us that were around. And what we did was set up Much Wenlock Mutual Aid, and it was a team of the councillors that were left. But also we had the vicar in Much Wenlock, a guy called Reverend Matthew Stafford, who's been very active in the community and is a real community leader. We've got quite an active Shropshire councillor as well, and so we had them all come in, and a couple of other people, and form this group of 10. And the group of 10 have done a lot of what Bob and Church Stretton have done, and we face actually very similar challenges to them in our demographic and our population, age and things. So it's quite similar, and the group together has worked really well, and the relationships have been really formed with these people, which were there before but are much stronger now, and it's meant that we've helped over 100 people. And the other thing that we perhaps is important to mention is that, particularly in Much Wenlock, a lot of businesses have changed their business models. The butchers who've never done deliveries in their entire existence are now delivering. The sweet shop is delivering 7 days a week, and sometimes it's just people's newspapers and a bar of chocolate. But for them, it's been really important, and so we've been able to assist with that. But the fact that we've been so busy shows that we were also there to stop people falling through the net. And the majority of people in Much Wenlock have come together without ceremony, without fuss, and just looked after their friends, family and neighbours. But we have been there to just stop people falling through the net. So we did it slightly differently, but we've achieved the same goal.
Yeah. And that really resonates with what Katrina was saying there, is that community spirit. It's really good.
Very important, but very different in rural areas and urban areas. I've tried to do the same in Hollinswood and Randley, but you've just got so many people who don't talk to their neighbours. You've got lots of people whose English is not their first language, and we've had to find other ways of supporting them. We've done a lot of leaflet drops and.
Oh no, Katrina.
Very different.
Sorry, just say what you said again. We lost you for a sec.
Oh right, we've had to do letter drops to specific people with contact details of who they can contact, so that they can communicate maybe in their own language, because it hasn't been as easy in the urban areas as it has been in the rural areas.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
I mean, talking about small urban areas, I'm hoping out of this that we'll end up having more dialogue between our town council and the surrounding rural parishes, and indeed with Much Wenlock, because I'm assuming that, not least because of the climate emergency, we need to fashion some more local economies, and hopefully the government might be backing more local bus routes that would help us, particularly for an ageing population, an increasing number of whom do not have access to cars, whether electric or petrol or diesel. So I think we're really going to have to concentrate at getting collectives of small towns and surrounding rural parishes coming together to see how they can support each other.
You're right. There's a big topic there, isn't there, on the infrastructure? And I saw government have put out, or I think it's Department for Transport putting a temporary measure on traffic regulation orders, so paths and cycle lanes can be widened to support local areas. And then surely that's a great opportunity. Now that we've got these things sitting on our front driveway, I think they were called cars. I think that's what they were. Obviously, we don't need those anymore, but it's a great opportunity to put in cycling infrastructure and walking infrastructure to local areas where we can support our local economy.
I personally hope that out of this, we might, for the first time in 4 or 5 centuries, be able to access some government money to convert our medieval structured town centre to something that is can operate in the 21st century, with giving pedestrians more access, cyclists more access, and talk of legalising e-scooters will be another challenge for our medieval town centre. We struggle to accommodate the cycles. Where e-scooters are going to be parked, I'm still exercised about.
Well, if you look in most European cities where they've implemented electric scooters, the answer is pretty much anywhere, in any hedge, on any corner. You stack them up nicely and then they all fall over. But you're absolutely right. I mean, that's a great way to be able to easily get into your local village or town centre. But the legislation around it is important and the safety around it is important. From my personal point of view, the easiest thing to do is reduce the number of vehicles in the area, so to make things safer for people. And we've got a great example of doing that. I think it was in Denmark. Don't fact check me on this. I think it was Denmark. They are starting to just cordon off areas that used to be cul-de-sacs accessible to cars and just said, no, this is now completely pedestrianised as a temporary measure. But could it become permanent, and does it work better?
Good idea.
Yeah.
You will need some maps for that. You'll need to.
Another plug.
Oh, another plug. Sorry. How many am I allowed?
I'm counting.
Swear jar. No, great. I mean, and Eric, with your long experience in local government, how do you sort of look back and take our lessons from the past? Can we take, just as we're talking about now, can we take a lesson from now?
Well, I think when I started as clerk, I was very much regarded as just a person who took the minutes and a person who did the correspondence. Agenda items are still very much the same. We still talk about highways, we still talk about planning, etc. But I think clerks now are having to become far more experienced people, certainly understanding planning and certainly understanding how the government works, how SALT works, and how everyone links together. And it's interesting, Bob saying how much we've got to sort to work with each other and develop that. I think perhaps many villages we try to work in isolation, and I think what has got to alter is we've got to work more with the market towns, etc., and then move upwards. But no, it's been a brilliant experience. I hope to continue still for a few more years. But I think it is a difficult job now for clerks. It's not as easy as it was. And I noticed the number of vacancies that occurs for clerks. Also, I think there's a big problem, and it's good to see younger councillors in the areas that I deal with. I would say 75% of the councillors are over 70. So it is nice to see some younger generation coming in, perhaps when we have the elections again in 4 years' time, we might get more younger councillors volunteering, and I think that's important as well. I think we've relied and been very grateful to a lot of elderly people to run parish councils and indeed town councils. So I think we've got to attract the young generation into sort of parish councils, town councils even. But that's just my experience. But I do enjoy it. I think village halls, community centres are vital. And I will plug back to SALC now. I think the work that SALC has certainly put in the last sort of 12 months and over this last few months has been invaluable to me as a clerk in certainly passing information.
Really good.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Katrina, I hear from Dianne that you missed
I would like,
yes, to do something.
I just wonder if I could do something. It's a bit naughty, and I hope that the others will bear with me. But it's for you, Eric. I hope you can hear me okay. It's a great honour to actually meet you today, albeit virtually. I'm especially pleased that you're able to join us. I've heard so much over many years about your achievements and the special way in which you carry out your role, particularly in Craven Arms and obviously your smaller parishes. I've admired from a distance your experience, your dedication, your depth of knowledge and your professionalism for over 30 years since I became a clerk first, and now as the current president of our association. And I very much wanted to visit you and to present you with a long service award for your 43 years of service. However, due to the current situation, we thought that this was an ideal opportunity to congratulate you and to thank you, especially in Shropshire Association's 70th anniversary year. I still hope to come and meet you and to be able to present your special badge. But in the meantime, huge congratulations and many, many thanks for your important contribution to our sector. It has and is very much appreciated by many.
So say all of us.
Well done.
I don't really know what to say, but thanks very much. Really appreciate it.
We really mean it. Thanks, Eric, for everything.
Thank you.
Dianne, it worked. We managed to do it. Well that's really good. And you know, just listening to everyone speak today, it's you can see the passion, you can see the energy in it, and you can see what you're really trying to do is help the public and make your town and village a better place. And that's really great to see. And it is people like Eric who make that happen.
Very much so.
And he will be even more thanked if he manages to persuade the government to give us some money down to town and parish councils. Quite greatly heartened by the SALC resolution, and I hope the Minister of State reads the submission very carefully.
There we go.
Can I just say something about somebody, I think it might have been you, Chris, that mentioned the awareness now of parish councils. You know, that people are looking now to the parish councils as a central hub. But I didn't actually see this myself, but I do believe that Dawn French gave them a plug on Comic Relief when she mentioned how they are continuing with their Zoom meetings. And so there you go, you see, it's yeah.
and she was the one who gave you all a bad rep by thinking you're the church parish and
yeah.
It's all no.
However, Chris, there are some councils like that.
Yeah.
We don't mention that now.
Can I take up a point of what Eric said about younger members or younger parish councillors? I think it's a priority. I know Nelk's looking at it from a national issue. It's quite right. We could do with more younger members. Of course, the problem with it is that with myself who are retired, hey, I've got nothing else to do, so I can concentrate on parish council. Whereas, of course, if you are a younger member and you've got family, you have an issue. So at some stage we may be needing to look at, if we encourage younger members to become councillors, then some assistance put in place to help them carry out their duties of councillors whilst carrying on being employed and being a family member. And so that's the way to get the younger people, I think, into put a a modern perspective, if you like, on how local authorities and parish councils should operate.
Yeah, on the point of myself and Much Wenlock, I did basically this affordable home scheme with Shropshire Council. So we have a small holding, it's a very small farm of with a couple of rented, it's about just under 40 acres. So it's nowhere near enough to live off. My dad and everyone involved has their own job outside of it. So I was gifted a small piece of land and applied for this Shropshire Council affordable home. And it was basically, we were restricted on size and what you can sell it for, which we wouldn't do anyway. And so I was able to build, which was the most stressful thing I've ever done. And because I did it with the wife, and we had just so many disagreements on it. It was very, very tough, but we got through that. And but it meant that I could stay in Much Wenlock, and I think that's one of the big things with Much Wenlock is that the house prices are so high, and I imagine it's similar in Church Stretton as well. Just knowing the place, that the government Help to Buy scheme of the last decade or whatever was quite successful, but it meant that you would buy new builds. And it also meant that those places that were really building the homes were in kind of Telford and Shrewsbury. And so a lot of my friends who I grew up with that would like to have stayed in Much Wenlock went to these places. And I think they then when you move to a community, it takes a while for you to get that community spirit, I think. Whereas if you grow up in a community, you're embedded with that. And because I was able to stay in Much Wenlock, one of the things I wanted to do was give something back and improve things for younger people there. And that was definitely a motivation for me when I saw that there was an election and there was seats available in Much Wenlock Town Council. So I think you're absolutely right. It's the fact that we seem to be slightly working longer hours than perhaps we used to, and then childcare and things would be an issue. And I think one of the things I'll have to do is if I start a family. I'm 28 now, so I think my wife will probably want to start a family at some point soon. I've got to then have that. I've got to have that in mind and think, right, well, how much time can I devote to being a town councillor plus my day job plus and being a father? But also the housing issue is something as well. I mean, a lot of my friends have gone into places like Lawley in Telford or Shifnal when they've built lots of homes, and so it takes time for them to kind of get that sense of community, which with places like Much Wenlock, Church Stretton and the places of Craven Arms where you guys are representing, I think you grow up in that community and you have that ownership of it. But the same people that probably would want to give something back or serve might also be the same people that want to buy their own homes. And for the young people who stayed in Much Wenlock, they've obviously kind of really been in rented accommodation or something like that, like social housing, which is fantastic. It's great that that's there. But it also means that they probably might be on a lower income and would use instead of helping out on a town council, they might do a second job or something to top up that. And I think that is one of the issues that would need to be looked at in part of this.
I echo that. I think that's you've made a really good point there. So certainly coming from Bomere Heath, we're sort of a bit in the sticks. Don't have so many new houses, but have had a new estate or two specifically targeted for affordable homes. But I think that we've bridged that gap. I take the comment about having younger people, and I think I'm one of the youngest chairs that we've ever had. It's bridging that gap with the community. So it doesn't always need to be a parish council, because a little bit Vicar of Dibley-esque, like you've just said, there is a stigma. But equally, it's about having involvement with the community and having splinter groups off. So we've reintroduced the Bomere Heath Fete. It used to be a thing 15, 20 years ago where it was a regular annual event. It hadn't happened. We've brought that back in, and we had a splinter group breakaway sort of committee, and that's got a lot of people, younger people involved, because it was extremely diverse across all age groups and different areas and aspects of the parish, and that really worked. And some people don't want to be parish councillors but do want to give back and help. So as Dan was just saying, they had that motivation. We've got a school in the area, we've got lots and lots of social groups, and it's just, I think personally, it's one of the things that I'm trying to introduce, and our parish council are really behind the whole process of forming those links and maintaining those bonds. They may become parish councillors. So from the FATE, for example, and that committee, we got another 2 councillors. When we did the community-led plan 4 or 5 years ago, we got another councillor. So it's just constantly working, sort of doing those activities actually do have great gains and really do bridge the link.
Sorry, Bob, you again.
I'm very much hoping that out of this there will be more responsibility and resources coming down to town and parish council level, because I hope that would attract younger people to come into it, because I know parishes are very proud of their independence, but I do wonder whether in the 21st century we can find enough councillors to staff 158 parish councils. And if we're going to build more resilient, self-sufficient rural communities, I think we will need bigger units of administration than 150. We will need a smaller number of units of administration with more power than they have currently. But that's a real challenge for the next boundary commission. But I hope very much that parish councils will see some value in coming together in collectives or in whatever way works for them, so that they can increase their influence. And I think that in turn will bring more young people in. But above all, we need a change in the planning system that enables communities, small communities, to build the houses they need and not be victim to housing developers who only want to build executive homes with a maximum profit margin. We have to be building more on the basis of community need.
Absolutely. I just echo that absolutely. I think one of the things that Much One Look sometimes gets is when we have had homes being built, they've either been to affordable to rent, or they've been massive executive homes where the developers and the landowners have tried to make as much money. And if something like you said comes out of this, that there is people who more recognition for affordable homes to buy, I think that would transform communities and give opportunities for more and more people to serve on parish councils, town councils and things.
I don't know about the rest of you, but one of the things that we've done, and it certainly also has a bit of an age demographic attached to this, we've had to set up our own website, which is something that we did a couple of years ago. We've set up our own Facebook page, but we've also had to set up and go out to the market and find a suitable email provider and a data storage provider and make sure that it ticks all the boxes for GDPR and get various councillors to use it rather than setting up their own individual systems. And it sort of baffles me that we're in the 21st century, we're 2020 now, and we as a parish council are having to do our own thing. It should really, in my opinion, be something that is set at national level or certainly at county level, whereby you become a parish councillor, you're on a drive, you have your own dedicated cloud, and here's your email address. All you do is fill out a form and bang, you get one like you would do in any employment. Whereas that's so much effort and additional things that we have to do. And as you alluded to earlier on, the age demographic of most of the parish councillors, that they wouldn't know where to start. And I would hate for them to have to take that task. We as a parish council have got some tech savvy members, and everybody's been, generally speaking, really welcome to that change and have got on board with having a cloud storage system so we can look after our data and we can look after our information and we can communicate better.
Absolutely, you're right. Technology as a driver for it and as an enabler is really important. And yeah, I take your point on that. We are serving a lot of town and parish councils, and there is a huge inconsistency in how we what we receive in terms of their email address or their website and how we interact with them. It is massive, and I think we should now reserve the next 4 hours to discuss that, because it could take that long. Yeah, and yes, my heart drops when I see an @Yahoo email address come through, and I was like, no, you're a professional organisation. But it's because there's a knowledge gap somewhere. We try and help with that, but yes, you're right. Something on a regional, national level could and needs to happen.
I'm sure if you worked at county council and you became a new employee or a member of the establishment, you would get given a website, you would get given a cloud connection. Mm-hmm. Why are we any different? You know, Dianne said earlier on, we're not volunteers, we are a member of government, and yet I would suggest that that's not quite the case down at our level, for want of a better word.
Mm. Yeah. Well, we better start building one then.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, my parish council's got a website and it has a parish council email address. So when you become a councillor, I'm probably one of the worst people, because if you look, you sent the link, it was to my home link, and I'm not sure whether the parish council website is that efficient at this moment in time. So a lot of parish councils have got websites and been set up by the clerks, I think. I think that's what's been alluded to, because it's also part of the awards thing that SALC do, for gold and silver and efficiency awards, an efficient website. Because if you look at Cleveland Mortimer, for example, superb website, everything is on there, links to, if you go on there as a member of the public, you know who your councillor is, and you know how to get hold of the National Dog Grooming Club as well, to a certain degree. And the same applies to sort of places like WEM or and whatever. So I think it's there. It's I think a lot depends on the chairman and probably the clerk and the willingness to create efficient so people can know what to go for.
Yeah, it's very hard. Well, Dianne, I think we should wrap this up and leave this. I'm going to give you the last word, because you were instrumental in putting all this together. I've really enjoyed it. I hope everyone else has as well.
Oh, thank you. Well, massive thank you to everybody for taking part. I'm actually taking next week off, a well-deserved rest, but apart from that, it's business as usual, really. We will carry on with the day job. Councils will, I'm sure, continue to meet online, and it won't be very long before those that haven't will do. We will be there to support them. A lot of what we do is actually quite reactive, but we do try to be very proactive where we can be. And I personally think that digital tools such as digital mapping is most definitely the way forward. And what I would like to do is to work with Parish Online to see what we can do together to offer our parish councils. Dan mentioned, why there isn't stuff coordinated for websites and emails and the cloud, etc. Well, perhaps it's our opportunity now to try and coordinate something for digital mapping. So I'd like to take that forward with our executive when they meet next month. And, I can really, really see the benefits and, very pleased this interview.
Well, that would be great, and you know where we are. we can't finish this on a plug, though. We're going to have to. I think we should finish this with just another round of applause for Eric.
For Eric.
Stop clapping hands. We can all just clap.
Thanks very much. I hope to complete the 50 years. That's my aim.
Well done.
What are you going to do?
We'll have to get a special badge made for that one. We haven't gone that far yet.
Great. Well,
thank you,
everyone. Thank you for your time. It was lovely speaking to you, and I hope to speak to you all soon. And cheerio.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.